Well, it is the anniversary of the jet ski incident. It was September 2015, and it was at Dauphin Island. It was the last day of our vacation. Our neighbors had rented a couple of jet skis, and we saw them all day. We thought it looked pretty cool, so we rented some. Jamie took Jonah, and I took Noah, and off we went to explore the water. We went up and down the beach. We saw stingray. We saw lots and lots of different fish. Then we stumbled onto tons, hundreds of jellyfish, as far as you could see from one end to the other. And Jonah decided that he didn't want any part of that, so we had to take him back up to the house. And then the three of us went back out and just had some more fun. And at some point, Jamie's jet ski stalled. But had I known, that was the infamous jet ski. And then it was time to take them in. So we went back up to the beach and delivered them back to Mr. Jet Ski Man. And he asked me, Noah and I, if we would mind taking the jet ski down the beach, around the point, across the bay, and deliver them to him at the dock. It was about a 20-minute trip from our house to where the dock was, and he was waiting. He picked us up, brought us back to the house. And I guess I should back up and say that what had happened, the reason Jamie didn't take it and the two of us didn't go out together was because the neighbor on the other side of us wanted to rent that one for about an hour, the one that Jamie had been on. Well, he asked me again, would I mind to take it back? Thank goodness I made Noah go into the house, and it would be quicker if I just took it back. Little did I know it was not going to be quicker. So just as I was pulling away, Mr. Jet Ski Man goes, if this one runs out of gas, just stay put, like I'm going to go anywhere, and I will come out and get you I'll bring gas out on the second one, and then we'll go in. I'm like, okay. So out I went, down the beach, around the point, and just as I got to the point, right just before it died. And I was like, okay, well, try to start it back, and it started up. So I was able to go on around the point. It stalled again. And after that point, it never started back. You know, I knew that 20 minutes had probably passed and he would hopefully come looking for me. Just like he said, if it ran out of gas, stay put, and he'll take the second one out to get me. Problem should have been solved, but it wasn't. And I guess I should say also, I was around the point where I was the furthest point that I would be as I come around the corner and was going to go in and cross the bay. I was the furthest out that I could be. It was like the worst possible place for this to happen. So I waited and waited. He never came. And then I noticed off to my left, way out, there was a couple on a jet ski, and they were kind of heading right toward me. They were probably taking the same route that I was to head toward the dock. And I was able to flag them down, and they came up. And I was like, I think it's out of gas, but I'm not sure. And the guy was like, let me look. So he jumps in the water, gets up on mine. He's like, there should be a reserve tank on these things. And he looked around, never really could find anything. Because I found out later that reserve tank was automatic. It wasn't like a switch that you turned to get more gas. The guy said that there wasn't room for 3. As they were leaving, though, I said, find the guy, tell him where I'm at, that I've run out of gas. And away they went. I let them go. I shouldn't have let them go. I should have insisted that they wait or make a tow rope or do something. But anyway, the sun was beginning to get a little bit lower, and I was starting to get worried. Not scared, because I still thought he's going to show up any minute. I'm going to see him coming out from the dock, and so I wasn't worried yet. All of a sudden, I see off in the distance his little jet ski, and he went up the beach, and tiny. I'm like over a mile out, so he's like tiny on the horizon. And I can't really tell if he's looking my way or not, but I see him go up, and then he kind of disappeared where I couldn't see anymore, and then all of a sudden I see him going back the other way. And I was like, uh-oh, he didn't see me. I was like, well, I need to be big. I need to make something so people can maybe see me. So I took my life jacket off and tried to wave it around to be like, I'm over here, thinking maybe somebody would see me. But they didn't see that either. So then I started looking around, like maybe there's a paddle, maybe there's something on here that I can use to kind of push myself in, because at this point I noticed that the current was pushing me further and further out. Like the boat kept trying to turn like away from the direction I wanted. I pulled the seat up and looked under it to thinking maybe there was something, and all I could find was a fire extinguisher. And I thought, well, maybe I'll set that off, and like the plume, somebody will see that. And I did it, poof, and it was just like the tiniest little poof. It was completely useless. I knew nobody was going to see that. And then here comes Mr. Jet Ski again. Around the thing, he did the exact thing. Went up the beach, turned around, and came back. And again, I don't know if he just never looked this way, or if he did and I was just too small on the horizon. I thought maybe I could get off the back of the boat and like push it in with my, like kick it in, push it in. No, I tried it. It did not work at all. That thing was just too big. But I did discover that you could just run the battery and the propeller, I guess, would go, because the boat would go from this thing back to this way. But eventually, my doing that, it just ran the battery down completely, and it was just dead in the water. And then the sun started to set. And I'm telling you, I will never forget the sun coming down, getting lower and lower and lower and darker until there was just the tiniest little sliver of the sun. That was the moment that I got scared, that I was like, this is bad. This is going to be bad. It was the scariest moment I think that I have ever experienced in my entire life, was watching the sun just disappear. There was only one moment, and it was after the sun had gone down, that I yelled out to try to like call out for anybody. I knew they couldn't hear me. I was too far out, but one time I let out just this like, somebody help me. But it came out in such a way that it made me panicked, and I couldn't be panicked. I was like, no, you shut up. You can't scream like that. You've got to just stay focused. Your family is not going to decide like, well, she didn't come home, I guess we'll just leave her. So they're probably right now already got people looking. Mr. Jet Ski, I would hope, is not going to just get in his truck and leave. So I knew that there were people looking for me, but I had made the decision after I screamed that I would never do that again, that I was going to do whatever I could to stay where I was at. I only really let myself think a bad thought once out there, and that was, if something happened and I wouldn't come back home, the one person that I kept thinking of was Noah. And he was big enough to understand. The others were kind of small. I kept thinking about him and like, man, if something were to happen and I don't come home, it's going to be hardest on him to kind of understand. So I only let myself think that for a small time, because I knew that I was going to get out of this. If I had to sit here and float on this thing all night long into the next day for a week, that's what I was going to do. So that was pretty much it. I sat there in the pitch black. I took the seat off, and I was using it as like a big paddle to kind of like paddle. Well, my entire goal was just to stay right here, not to float out. And I did that. I must have done that for an hour. And all of a sudden, to my left, something just came straight out of the water and hit the water. And it's pitch black and I can't see anything, but I was like, what was that? And then the other side, it happened again. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's happening over here. Not long after that, something came to the side of the boat and like hit it enough that bobbed me like this. And then it came on this side and did it again on this side. And I was like, no! And both of my feet went straight up onto the seat, and I was like, Jaws is not gonna get me! Within a few minutes, I noticed off in the distance 2 red and blue lights from a boat coming out from around the dock. And I knew at that point, that's gonna be for me. That's gotta be for me. But what they did was they went straight out, way out, and they were doing this like grid pattern. They had their big spotlight, and it passed over me, and then it came back immediately. And when it came back over, the spotlight never came off of me. It was just like on me the whole time. And they were like, stay still. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. They were like, do not move. They were like real military about it. So I just sat there, like, okay. And then this big burly guy came out, and he was like, and just lifted me up and put me into their boat. I'm like, whoa. And they were like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I cracked some joke like, do you think I'll get my deposit back? And I think once I cracked the joke, they knew that I was okay. Back to the dock we went. I won't even get into that part of it. I was completely fine. We had a good story to tell. 4.5 hours alone in the pitch black on a dead jet ski, getting rescued by the Coast Guard on the last day of vacation. Needless to say, I have not been on any jet skis, and I have no plans to be on jet skis. Somebody might ask why I didn't get off the boat and like try to swim. And the beach to this side was, I don't even know how far that was, but it was not swimmable, not for me anyway. So that's that.